hard to lose that way, but I'm proud of those guys in there. I'm proud of the staff, and you know, we did some really good things this year, and ultimately we improved, which was the name of the game. You know, I think unfortunately you got to live that to really understand why you're in this business, and that's what it's for: playoffs, NFC Championship game, Super Bowl, and now your eyes are open. You know, and our guys' eyes are open, and this should be the ultimate motivation to push forward, and it will be for us. It will be. So, you know, we'll learn and move on. Questions?
Yeah, you mentioned this yesterday. You alluded to how hard it is to get back to that level, that game, the Super Bowl. It's not guaranteed. What do you have a guess at what your window to win at that level might be, or what might go into that window? Is it certain players' contracts, coaches? What goes into that window?
I think it's everything. I think it's players and coaches. I think it's, you know, you got to continue to get better, create more competition on the roster, and the coaches too. You know, it's got to be, you got to make sure that you have the right staff and that they all work well together, and that it's a high level staff. You know, with high level players. You know, it's important, and you know, it's one thing to, you know, you learn a lot about players when you're 0-10, which I talked about. You also learn a lot when you're in an NFC Championship game, and everything's the stakes are a lot higher, and you get in those type of games, and we all learn.
You mentioned a high-level staff, which is pretty good chance you'll lose Ben Johnson here in the next couple days. What's the plan to replace him if you've got that far yet? If not, just how important is making sure that you have someone in that position that can be high level?
Yeah, if it comes to that, that's obviously very important. I mean, he was a critical piece for us. You know, he's a critical piece, and I'm not worrying about that just yet. You know, I need to at least get 2 hours of sleep, and then I'll begin. But I'm not going to rush. I can promise you that. I'm not in some mad rush. I'm going to make sure it's right.
Dan, you really leading the phrase "built for this," as you know, this season, particularly down the stretch run here. I'm curious, is that a phrase that carries over year to year, or do you have to reset that foundation to be built for success deep in the season?
Yeah, I think the whole point was to create a core that had certain standards. You know, obviously they got to be good players, and we have that. But they got to be a certain way, and there's got to be a certain mindset and a certain identity, and we have that with our core. And we got to add pieces that are like-minded. We got to add more talent, more competition that thinks the same way that group of guys in that locker room does. And it's non-negotiable if it's not. There's no level of talent that is worth bringing something that doesn't fit what we're about in there. And so that's very important. But as far as, look, we'll talk about that when it gets, we got to start all over. Yeah, we have the foundation. There's things that we won't have to start all the way from scratch, but man, there's got to be that hunger. There's got to be that work. There's got to be that attention to detail. There's got to be that urgency. And in that regard, you're starting all over again. And if you don't, you think you're just going to walk out there because you went to the NFC Championship game, you got another thing coming. That's how you become average in a hurry. And they'll know that, they understand that, and as we get to next year, that'll be the message. But you know, that's really it.
A lot of teams you see have maybe that heartache before they get over the mountain. San Francisco, great example, right? Lost the last two before they won that one. What do you think your team learned last night from that first trip there, that first time getting that far, and that long, that you can maybe take to next year and moving forward?
I think it was. This is what you hear about all the time with catastrophes. You know, it doesn't take one or two. It takes 12 things to go wrong. And we did all 12 of those wrong in all three phases. And ultimately, where we've been so good, when one area is struggling a little bit, the other two pick them up. We've been really good about that. And that was the game in the second half where all three phases just we were not good, and we continued to make mistake after mistake after mistake in all three phases. And when that happens, that's where a game like that against a very good opponent, you know, their guys showed up, man. Pretty showed up and critical. McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, Bosa, I mean, Warner, they, you know. And so, you know, I think if anything, it's just a reminder. Until you're in there, you understand this is the most critical play of the game. And it's play 4 of the game, or it's play 30 of the game. This is the most important. And, you know, and so I just think you have to be in that moment. You have to be on the road, that environment, and you got to find a way to dig yourself out, which we've done a really good job of.
And you worked under 2 coaches in Parcells and Payton that did have that sustained high level of success. Maybe some dips here and there, but you know, we're contenders more often than not. So what can you take from the experiences of playing for them, coaching under them, that you can apply to even learning how to sustain your own success?
Yeah, consistency. Got to stay consistent, which we've done for 3 years now. You know, stay true to what you believe in. When it comes time to start over, you start over, and it's all about, like what I said, the hard work, the detail. We got to be physical. You know, that's part of who we are. But if you start to deviate off of what you've been, you know, and I think the other thing you got to be careful you fall in a trap with. The more success you have with these players, the more attached you get, and you got to be careful you don't get blinded. And that's hard. That's hard to do. You know, you got to see it for what it is, step back, and make sure that the player is producing and is capable of producing at a high level, and take your emotions out of it.
Knowing your team won't look the same next year, what do you think you'll remember most about this team?
I think what we talk about all the time, just how resilient they were, their ability to overcome, to go into a harsh environment and win big games and not get panicked, and just to see where they really came as a group, man, as a team, and to watch them lean on each other and how strong that bond got in there, which is important, man. Even in professional sports, it's still, that's a deal. That's a real thing. And the teams that can find that, they're usually going to have something special, and that's what we've got in that locker room. It is a special group.
Going back to your speech when you told them to trust you, and all of those things you just said, what does it mean to you to have a group that really did trust you?
Well, it means everything. It means everything, because you know, in this line of work, when you stand in front of those men and you're selling them on what you really believe, I know that's not the easiest thing to do, and especially with where we came from. Stepping in here, there's a number of players that didn't have success, had not known success, and it's the next coach telling us this, this, and this, and why should we believe in that? And the fact that a number of these players that were already here, to watch them buy in and trust it and believe in the process, and then us to have success, that's special. That's something you don't forget for the Deckers and Ragnows, and you know, because you want success for those guys that are willing to put in the work another time, and to give it its due. It's special.
Last one, two things from last night. One, the run play timeout sequence, and third goal from the one we final drive. Just as you analyze that, is there any, did you change anything about that?
Yeah, look, it's the easy thing to do is to throw it. Probably should have been the right thing, but for me, I wanted to run it. I thought we would just pop it. You know, we had just 2-minute all the way down the field throwing the football, and they were in a 4-down front, and I believe we'd walk right in, and we missed a block. And so then, yeah, I got to use a timeout. So hindsight, you know, throw it 4 times, but I believed in that moment it was going to be a walk and run, and it didn't work out. So I gambled and lost.
And then injury-wise, Derek Barnes, anybody else, any update there? Is that how serious?
Yeah, I really have nothing new on him. I don't, you know, so I don't have an answer right now.